Hi, I'm Brittany, a first-degree member of the North Wyldewood Coven.
And I'm Daryl. I'm also a first-degree member of North Wyldewood Coven. We're excited to share a little of the magic and lore of Midsummer, along with a great recipe to enjoy during these beautiful summer days.
Collectively, our family of covens is known as the Temple of the Spiral Path, and we practice the Shadowfolk tradition of witchcraft. Close your eyes and take a deep, relaxing breath. Continue breathing as you feel your feet firmly on the floor. And wherever you are, inside or outside, in an apartment, in a house, begin to feel your toes growing roots that go through that floor and down through anything else, any other apartments, any basement, until they reach the earth. And then burrowing into the earth, these roots continue to travel down into the very core of the Earth Mother. And you begin to drink up that heat from the Earth Mother, that green, wild energy through your roots, all the way up into your feet and your ankles, your calves, your knees, your thighs, up into the center of the being, of your being, where it mixes with your own energy at your solar plexus. And in your mind's eye, see your arms lift up, your hands reaching toward the sky, and see your fingers begin to grow like branches. They grow through the ceiling if you are inside, up through any barrier until they reach the sky, up through the roof, reaching the sky and the bright daylight outside, up and up through the atmosphere, up into outer space, where they meet the sun's energy, that fiery ball of light, and drink in that amazing warmth, down through the branches, down through the sky, down into your fingers and your arms and hands, down into your shoulders, into your chest, and into your solar plexus where it mixes with that Earth Mother energy. Feel all of this energy together mixing, and let it become a light that you feel throughout your whole body, warming and cleansing and relaxing you, reminding you of this energy you always have access to. Slowly begin to bring your roots up from the very core of the earth, up through the layers, up into the grass, up through the basements and the floors beneath you, back into toes again, so that your feet are firmly and flat upon the ground. And begin to feel your branches growing back down from space, down into the atmosphere, down into the sky, down through the roofs and the ceilings, down into fingers again, until you are sitting calmly with your hands in your lap. Begin to be aware of the sounds around you, wherever you are, the sensations, the smells. Take another deep breath in, and when you are ready, open your eyes and be here now.
At Midsummer, we have the most hours of sunlight during the day, and the power of the sun is at its brightest and strongest. Sorcery and divination were traditionally practiced on Midsummer's Eve up until very recently in Celtic countries. In many parts of the world, This holiday is celebrated as the feast of St. John the Baptist, and the beautiful and healing flower known as St. John's wort is often blooming around this time. In nature right now, in the northern hemisphere, midsummer is the time of year when the power of the sun's light helps produce some early crops, including a number of berries like blueberries and various medicinal herbs. There is also the growing promise of harvests to come. In our own lives, this means that the work we've put into our projects in the last few months, the little seeds we've started at the spring equinox or Beltane, are starting to show early progress. But it's also not too late to start some late summer projects in our lives. We need to have the energy to continue working hard, to help our goals manifest, and midsummer is the time when that energy is the strongest. As I said before, this is the time when the days are longest, but that also means that after this point, the days will start to shorten, beginning our inevitable trip back to the shortest day of the year and the longest night, at the winter solstice. As at Beltane, fires would be traditionally lit at midsummer throughout the Norse and Celtic worlds, and the fires were seen as protective, as well as good for enhancing health and fertility. Young girls would leap over the fires for fertility, and the fires would also be brought around the fields to help the crops grow. These traditions continue in some countries. At midsummer, there's a great tradition of rolling fire wheels, which continued into the 19th century. These were pagan celebrations where a flaming wheel was rolled downhill to a river, and the charred pieces were then kept as powerful talismans. This took place in many places, including France, Ireland, and Britain. There are also many traditions of ritual bathing in springs and rivers on Midsummer's Night, or during the day, for purification and health in the coming year. Divination has been part of midsummer in many countries and is still traditionally practiced. Just one example of many. In Sweden, Norway, and Finland, it is believed that if a girl picks 7 different flowers in the silence of midsummer night and puts them underneath her pillow, she will dream of her future husband.
Some of the gods and goddesses worshipped at midsummer in Celtic regions include Anya, the Irish goddess of summer, wealth, and sovereignty. She has command over the crops and animals, both of which were very important during this time of year, during the growing season. Lu, the many-skilled god of the harvest, was sometimes associated with midsummer because of its connection with the crops as well. At midsummer festivals in Celtic regions, bonfires were lit, and couples would jump through the flames for luck. The higher they jumped, the higher the crops would grow.
Some Norse gods that are associated with midsummer are Freyr, Norse god of fertility, bountiful harvests, wealth, and peace, twin brother of the goddess Freya. Freyr's residence is Alfheim, the homeland of the Light Elves. Freya, a powerful Norse goddess of magic, romantic and sexual love, war, beauty, the practice of save. Sol, or Suna, Norse goddess of the sun. Very little source material remains about her, but her brother Mani is the god of the moon. She drives across the sky during the day in a chariot, and her horses are named Arvakr, which means early riser, and Alsvidr, swift. They're pursued through the sky by the wolves Skol, mockery, and Hati, meaning hate.
Some of the gods worshipped in Greece and Rome at this time of year included Apollo and Helios, both gods of the sun. Juno, the Roman goddess of marriage, was honored at this time, and the month of June, a popular month for marriage still, was named for her. Vesta, the goddess of hearth fires and the home, was honored at the festival of Vestalia, celebrated from June 7th through the 15th. During this festival, women made offerings and cleansed and purified her temple, where her fire was always kept burning.
Some of the ancient Egyptian gods that are associated with midsummer are Ra, the ancient Egyptian deity of the sun. He was often portrayed with a falcon head, similar to the god Horus. Though there are many creation myths in ancient Egyptian lore, in some versions all forms of life were created by Ra. In some accounts, humans were created by Ra's tears and sweat. Hence the Egyptians called themselves the cattle of Ra. Sekhmet, Egyptian warrior goddess as well as a goddess of healing. She is often depicted as a lioness. She was seen as the protector of the pharaohs and led them in warfare. Sekhmet is also a solar deity, sometimes called the daughter of Ra, and is also associated with the goddesses Hathor and Bastet.
The bonfire is probably the most universal symbol of midsummer, shared by almost every culture at this time of year. Many cultures had traditions that included lighting a bonfire on a hilltop, dancing around it or leaping it, burning specific sacred types of woods, and sometimes burning flowers or herbs as well. Traditional things people did on Midsummer's Eve included leaving offerings out for the fairies. As with May Eve, the night before Beltane, and Samhain, Midsummer Eve is considered to be a good day for connecting with otherworldly beings, especially at this time of year, the good folk.
Things you can do on Midsummer Eve and day. Watch the sunset on Midsummer's Eve and watch the sun rise on Midsummer's Day. You can also watch the sun set and rise online at Stonehenge, as they will be broadcasting that footage live this year. Leave out an offering for the good folk. Even if you're in a city, you can leave out a tiny bit of cream or a little bread and honey at the base of a tree or other spot that is natural and a little out of the way. They are present everywhere, even in the densest city. If you leave out an offering of food, just make sure that it is not something that could poison or harm animals. You can also make an offering of something that is natural and will biodegrade, even if it's just reciting a poem or singing a song for them after saying a quick prayer. Spend some time with your favorite divination tool. Midsummer's Eve is a great time for asking questions about what's coming in the next half of the year. You can use tarot, runes, oracle stones, or scry into a bowl of water or a candle flame.
One midsummer craft that you should be able to do with things that you have in your home is to make salt dough sun cakes. I found this on a blog by Ozark Pagan Mama, so thank you, Ozark Pagan Mama. First, you're going to want the ingredients for salt dough. Hopefully you have these. Flour, salt, water, and vegetable oil, and maybe some food coloring as well if you want to make your cakes nice and sunny or yellow or orange. Tools that you will need include a rolling pin, a large jar or something that can make a large circle for your cake. Might be a circular cookie cutter would work for you. Look around your kitchen for something that would make a good circle size for your cake. And then you're going to want a smaller circle for the middle, as I'll show you in a minute. I used a small jam jar for this. You're going to want some kind of carving tool or clay tool to make imprints in the dough, and then the salt dough itself. You could also add, if you would like to, baking safe paint, glitter. I used beads for the eyes of this little sun. Maybe a ribbon if you would like to hang it as an ornament. You could also do this if you have clay at home, modeling clay that you can bake into an ornament, or you could make sun cake cookies with any kind of sugar cookie dough and just decorate them to look like little suns. So you have lots of options here. I chose to use salt dough, so I took my rolling pin and I rolled out the dough until it was about 1/4 inch thick, just so that I would have a nice thickness of the ornament. And then I used my larger jar lid to make the outer circle, so I cut out, as you would with a cookie cutter, the circle that I needed, and I used the smaller jam jar to make just the light imprint of an inner circle there, so that we have a circle for the sun, and then there's room for the sun's rays, which we'll do last. I made little imprints for where the eyes were going to go and a little nose just out of a little roll of dough there. If you are trying to get things to stick, it always helps to wet the dough a little bit as you are sort of taking little pieces from the rest of your salt dough and adding them to the sun cake itself. I took 2 little balls of salt dough and I rolled them up to make cheeks and then flattened them out on the sun cake so that he has little cheeks now below his nose. And then I took a little more salt dough and I rolled Two kind of ovals for the mustache and another oval for the lips beneath it. So you can see he's starting to come together. And I used this clay tool, which I got at Michael's with some other tools, very inexpensive, and made little triangle indents for the sun's rays so that he looks more like a sun now. I used little beads that I had for the eyes, little red beads, and chose to make a little hole in the top so I could hang this as an ornament if I wanted to. So, if you're deciding on cookies, you could decorate with icing, you could decorate with, chocolate chips or candy or something like that. If you're deciding on clay, you could do this all with clay and just carve in eyes. So there's lots of different ways to do this. But now you have a nice little sun for your summer solstice holiday. So enjoy. Thank you for joining us.
From all of us in North Wyldewood Coven and the Temple of the Spiral Path, I want to thank you for watching today. Have a blessed midsummer.